Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer podcast. This is Deb McBride, and it is a lovely Sunday here in Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is the 15th of February, and yesterday was Valentine's Day, and it is the year 2026, and I am here giving you the astrology of the week ahead, and it is big. It is big. This is probably one of the biggest weeks of the year, if not the biggest week of the year, because of what we have in store for ourselves. Now, it's not like it's a great big shock because we've been talking about this for months. And I've talked about this in my presentation of 2026 astrology. You can still purchase that from me. If you're interested, let me know. Just contact me, info@thegoldenastrologer.com or deb@debmcbride.com. And you can purchase the year ahead 2026 Rebellion of Fire and Air. And here we are in Fire and Air. And Saturday, Sunday, here we are 2 days after Saturn has left the sign of Pisces. As I told you last week, it is now in the sign of Aries. Technically, it's conjunct Neptune because they are 0-0, and the exactitude will happen on Friday. And that is going to be at 11:53 a.m. Eastern Time. So Saturn and Neptune are coming together. I've been talking about this for a year. And really, this is powerful. It is a very, very infrequent aspect because the last time we had this was about 1989, 1990. People I know born with that, adults born with that aspect. And so those people will have occurrences this week, Saturn and Neptune. And then what's going to happen here is that they are meeting at the 0 degrees Aries point of the zodiac, meaning the first degree of the zodiac. So we are starting a brand new zodiac. It's fresh energy. It's fire energy. It is a very powerful step forward. It's all about going forward. Okay. And this is about how we move ahead and we take a new initiation in our lives. We're brave, we are courageous, we are taking a step in a new direction because it's a brand new zodiac. And Neptune hasn't been here in 165 years. So we are looking at brand new energy. We're not going back to the past. You got to let go of the past, stay out of the past, and really be a bit innovative in your life and look at things in a big, new, open way, right? And this is important because we are looking at, Saturn, which is not at home in Aries. It's in its fall, but I feel like even when Saturn goes into Aries, it really is a fresh perspective. And Saturn last week, boy, that was, and I talked about it. I talked about it on Instagram, the Golden Astrologer on Instagram. I talked about it here podcast last week. Really, that Saturn hung over us like heavy defeatist energy right up until it left Pisces, which was 6:11 my time on Friday evening. And that was it. Once it was done, it was done. And I felt like this huge weight lift off me. It's such a different perspective. It's such a different energy. I feel so different and lighter than I did on Friday. Oh my goodness. That was even right up to the end. That Saturn in Pisces, because it's just a defeatist energy, and it's like, telling us to quit when we really shouldn't quit. So we have to keep moving. We have to keep moving forward. And what you see in front of you is like a new road, a new future. We're moving forward. Okay. And I wrote a blog the other day. I have to put it up on my website, but I sent it out to my mailing list, and I called it When the Old World Dissolves. And it is. The old world is dissolving. There are things that we have been through that are no longer part of our future. They are yesteryear. And we're not going back to yesteryear, we're going forward. The other reason we're going forward is that we have an eclipse in Aquarius on Tuesday the 17th, and that is the day after tomorrow. And it is a new moon solar eclipse at 28 degrees Aquarius, 50 minutes, so almost 29 degrees Aquarius, which is the very, very, very end of Aquarius, right? So an eclipse is always a fresh perspective as well. We clear the decks, things from the past clear away. We see emotions come to the fore, and emotions coming up in such a way that it's saying, okay, you have to release this, you have to let this go, you have to release, you have to let go. It's a new moon. We're asking for new energy, new perspective, and Aquarius is always about the future. Always. Aquarius looks retro. If you saw me, you'd be like, oh, she's kind of retro. And she has these like antiques and retro things in her house. She's really kind of retro. And I am, but I'm not living there. My mind is forward thinking. And that's the nature of Aquarius. And Aquarius is simultaneously futuristic and retro, you know? It's because it was always kind of space age for Aquarius, but space age was popular back in the 50s, right? Right? The 50s and the 60s. And when we start to look at Aquarius, and I've said this so many times before, you're out running on the track. Aquarius is out running around the track, around the circle. And there's people in front of them. And they're running. Aquarius is running. And people in front of them are running and they're ahead of them. But the people in front of them are not ahead of Aquarius because they got to the track later than Aquarius did. Aquarius has been there already, been around the track a few times, and is way ahead. But the person who's running in front of them doesn't see that perspective. They're behind them. You know, that Aquarius is behind us. But it's not. The Aquarius is way ahead of you. And Aquarians get laughed at because they come up with these really weird statements and things out of nowhere. And they're laughed at, and it becomes a way of life years later. It could be many years later. Like I might say something and people say, oh, really? That's funny. How weird. And then it shows up 10, 20 years later, or 3 years later, or 6 months later. You know, this is the nature of Aquarius. Aquarius is always thinking about the innovative, about the future, about what is different, how they want to be different, how they can be contrary, how can they be different from everybody else, and how it's important to look at the future and consider it. But they're futuristic. Aquarians are always in the future. They're thinking about, but what if this, and what if that, and what if, and people say, what are you worried about tomorrow for? You got to think about right now. Hard to stay in the present moment with Aquarius, which is, I always believe it's important to stay in the present moment, really, because that's where all the information and energy is. It's in the present moment. But we get antsy and start thinking about the future. So the new moon in Aquarius is an eclipse. And as I said, it's at 28 degrees, 50 minutes, which is the very end of the sign. The end of the sign says we're finishing up a big cycle. And indeed, we are at the end of Aquarius season because Pisces starts on Wednesday. The sun will enter Pisces Wednesday morning, my time. But we are leaving Aquarius behind for this season. Aquarius is done. We're coming to the end. But the fact that the eclipse is happening at the end of the sign says, all right, you know, new information. This is it. We're ready for something new. And the eclipse isn't just any old eclipse. It is a solar eclipse, and it's squaring Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius. So it's an eclipse in Aquarius. It's making a challenging relationship to the ruler of Aquarius. Actually, the sun squares Uranus tomorrow at, well, tonight, depending on where you are, 12:02 a.m. Eastern time, so like 11 p.m. my time. But if you're in Europe, it's tomorrow morning. You're having a nice breakfast, and the sun is squaring Uranus. And then the moon will square Uranus 4:40 a.m. on Tuesday the 17th. And then the eclipse is at 7:01 a.m. This is all Eastern time on Tuesday the 17th, right? And then the moon goes void after that. So sun is a slower moving planet than the moon. Sun squaring Uranus. Moon is coming in squaring Uranus. So this is a jolt. And Aquarius is also the unexpected in much the same way that Uranus is. the unexpected. Now, what's interesting about Aquarius is it's a fixed sign, right? So, fixed signs are Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. And so those signs don't want to budge. Especially Taurus. Taurus doesn't want to budge. Taurus is the most fixed of all the fixed signs because it's Earth, wants to stay put. But Aquarius is more changeable because of the nature of Uranus. And, we can say, well, Uranus is a very changeable sign, but don't you kid yourself because Aquarius is fixed. And Aquarius likes things the way it is. I don't want to change things, but they are fixed in their opinion. It's going to be like this, and I believe it's like that, and that's that. And guess what? Uranus comes in and says, no, not really. Not really. It's not that. It's just because you figured it out to be that doesn't mean it's that. So Uranus is more of the unexpected. And Uranus loves the unexpected and the unknown. And we have to have faith and trust in the unknown, which I have learned over and over and over again. We've got to put our faith in the unknown. I'm sitting here as an astrologer telling you we're going to have this big eclipse, right? And it's going to square Uranus. So something profound is going to happen this week. But I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what exactly it is. I can't say at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, blah, 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 blah is going to happen in this country. And then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, za, za, za is going to happen in that country. And then they're going to meet. No, I don't know. And that's the beauty of astrology. But at the same time, it's not something that people want to hear when they come to me. They're like, well, what about this? Well, you know what? You have to trust the universe on that one, So astrologers cannot tell you exactly what's going to happen. They could make some guesses about it. Some astrologers are really astute at saying, well, this is going to have something to do with that. I met with my Internations group today, and I talked about it. And, what we're gearing up for is the stuff that's been in the news for a long time now, the whole world experience, okay? So there's stories going on that involve the whole world. There's countries connected to countries and stories connected to people in every country and things. And considering that we are having the eclipse at the same time, we are having Saturn, Neptune. Yes, they're different days, but that doesn't matter. It's the same time, folks. So that whole setup is already telling me that things that are in the news now that are big stories that we have been hearing about for ad infinitum, those stories are the ones that are going to have some breakthrough, breakdown, open thing, or something powerful shift with them. That's it. What specifically? I don't know. Maybe that little bird that's chirping knows. But I can tell you that it's a global concern because Saturn and Neptune are on the cardinal axis. They are on the world axis. And so because the eclipse is happening in the same week as the Saturn-Neptune, then we are getting a story that is involving global consciousness and global awareness. And we are getting a story that is going to affect everybody. Saturn and Neptune, and I've said this before, Saturn and Neptune got together last time the Berlin Wall came down. And while that did not necessarily affect you in your neighborhood, unless you lived in Berlin or around where the wall was, but if you live in, I don't know, American Samoa, that probably didn't affect you as much. But it's a consciousness thing. It was not in your neighborhood, in your backyard, but it's a consciousness thing. Wow, this is freedom. This is an expansion. This is open now. And that changed a lot of things in the world. It changed if you travel there and stuff too, if your family's from there. So there's something unusual happening that is going to probably be historical, because Saturn and Neptune are often historical together when they get together. But it's at the cardinal axis, which means that, there's going to probably be something very historical, very worldwide, and very landmark in whatever we're seeing. But I can't tell you what it is. I can't. Everybody's got a different placement of Saturn, Neptune in their chart, and every country has a different placement of Saturn Neptune in their chart. So, I have Saturn Neptune someplace and you have Saturn Neptune someplace. And I advise people if they want to know what part of their life this is affecting, then it's going to be for sure in that area of your chart, what house it's in and what planets it might be affecting. And if you haven't had your chart read, you can certainly meet with me or any other astrologer and find out where this Saturn Neptune is going to evolve for you and how this is going to work. And so this is really something that I think is a big, profound shift. The fact it's let's look at the big picture. The fact that it is happening 3 days after an eclipse. The eclipse is in, another forward moving sign. It's in air. The other planets are in fire and Aries. This is all about moving forward, all about tomorrow, all about the future, not yesteryear. Okay, so we are looking ahead of ourselves. It's a great time to set intention. There is going to be a global thing going on, but it's going to be a personal thing as well, which is why I'm telling you to look at your own chart. You want to set intention. You want to decide what the next part of your life should look like. Do you want the predictable future? Which you probably don't. What does the predictable future look like for you? And I don't mean what I'm talking about, meaning, the unknown and all this stuff. I'm talking about we have to put our faith in the unknown and that we're moving forward and we're not in yesteryear. But some people are stuck in a pattern, or many of us are stuck in a pattern where the predictable future is going to be unfolding for us and we don't want it. There are things like you can see the pattern in your family or in your life where something may be coming and it's not the future that you want. Well, then you've got to do work. And the way to clear that out is to look at your emotions and your feelings and what you're setting your intentions on and what you're expecting and what might not be correct. So really, you want to look at what kind of future you wish to have and what kind of future do you want to really put your invested energy in. And that means you have to look at your life and what you want to improve. And if you want to improve something, then you need to start working towards that and whatever that means. And the first thing, and I always say this, is to have gratitude. Gratitude for what you have now. Don't feel like you are in lack. If, I have a predictable future that I'm like trying to not manifest, and I'm making a different choice and trying to make different choices. Now, if you are someone that has been making the same choices all along, you want to look at that and say, okay, where can I change that? But where can I be grateful for all the wonderful things I already have? All the things I already have that are great, that are wonderful. And when you're grateful for what's already here, you let it go. Before I moved, I tell this story 1,000 times. Before I moved, I was grateful for New York. I was just like, all right, hey, this is a wonderful city. Let's be happy with it, And so 2 weeks later, I came to Costa Rica for the first time, and my whole life changed. So when we are profoundly grateful for what we have in our lives, for what we're given, for what we are, receiving in our lives, it's always better to have gratitude. It's always better to not be entitled or have expectations of someone or something or some country or something. It's better to have the gratitude for all you have and have gratitude and the feeling of gratitude for the thing that you want to manifest. Because if you have gratitude for the thing you want to manifest, it'll come to you faster. You don't necessarily want to wait till you have it to have gratitude or to feel the feeling. You want to feel it now. That is more powerful. The faster you will magnetize it and bring it to you is because you had gratitude for it. So if you've got gratitude for the very thing that you don't have in your life right now, I know it sounds backwards, but it's not. You have to have gratitude for whatever it is that you are working on manifesting and feel the feeling of what it'll be like to have it. That's going to get you there faster than sitting there dissatisfied with your life, and I don't have it, and I'm sad because I don't have it, so that's it. I'm mad and I'm sad, and that's it. That's not going to get you, that's not going to bring it to you. Like focusing on the lack, focus on all the richness and abundance you do have, and you will magnetize things much faster. So, this is a powerful week. I don't know what I'm going to say to you next Sunday, the 22nd, when I sit here and do my podcast. I don't know what we're going to see happen this week. I know that we're switching from Aquarius to Pisces. Pisces starts Wednesday, like I said, and we are going to be connected. Now, look, Pisces is the sign of unity. It is a sign of higher consciousness. It is the sign of we are all one. We are all joined. We are all connected. We are all in the consciousness pool together. That's Pisces' message, and also that we are made of love. Pisces is empathic and loving, and that's what we want to focus on. Love where you are. Be grateful for where you are. If you focus on love and gratitude, you're already there. So this is not meant to be a scary time. This eclipse, Saturn, Neptune, it's probably, I have the feeling, something really good and exciting is going to happen. And maybe for each and every one of us. Eclipses often come, different energies. Like this one is solar, but it's a north node eclipse because it's in Aquarius. It's closer to the north node, which is in Pisces. South node's in Virgo. That's where the second eclipse on March 3rd is. More on that when we get there. But the experience of the solar eclipse at the north node should be something really powerful and good for all of us in our world. So I have a good feeling about it. And Saturn and Neptune are not going to, leave us behind. They're going to open the door to something new and refreshing for us. Now, I will tell you, and I've said this before here, that this eclipse is on the moon of the United States chart. So I expect that the United States is going to be participating in this. Like somehow, some way, some information about the United States will come out. Don't know what it is. Could be anything. I don't know. But it's not gonna forget about the United States. Nothing. I was like, oh, nothing's happening in the U.S. It's something is there because of the eclipse. So this is something really profound in the history of a country. When an eclipse falls on the moon, that usually means something profound is happening. I would have to do all the charts of all the countries, all the nations, all the cities, everywhere in the world in order to tell you who else is getting this. But I can tell you that if you have planets in the mid degrees of the cardinal signs, that's also pressing on those planets. So that could be Aries, Libra, Capricorn, Cancer, and the middle of those cardinal signs is also receiving the eclipse as a dynamic aspect, a semi-square. So that's, you're not forgotten about with this eclipse. And I would say that you just have to develop some sort of practice to get through these energies. Meditation is good, a mantra is good, yoga is good, something peaceful, something that connects you to spirit and, and also connects you to earth so you're grounded. Don't let this energy sideswipe you, don't let this energy give you too much anxiety that you can't sleep, because it's high energy. Eclipses are high energy, and we could be feeling things and we don't know what it's about. It's probably the eclipse and the Saturn Neptune. This is a week of change. This is a week of big change. What else is going on this week? Let's see. Mercury in Pisces is going to trine Jupiter tomorrow at 4:31 in the afternoon, East Coast time. So 4:31 p.m., we're going to get a nice Mercury trine Jupiter, which is about creativity. They're in water signs. That's about flowing conversations. If you want to have a talk with someone or you want to exchange ideas with someone, great time to do that. Great time to be creative. Great time to open your mind to new ideas that expand your life, that expand your mind and expand your life. And this is a wonderful time to really open the door to some new things for yourself. So these are opportunities. You may get asked to do something. You may have a opportunity to be part of some group activity. But it's generally a positive, upbeat, mentally upbeat day because of that. And despite the eclipse and despite the sun squaring Uranus, which is always uneasy energy, you can expect that something is going to flow. I actually have to say I have a good intuition about what's coming. So I have a good feeling. So something positive is going to come out of this. And it always is, you know, there are, I'm not going to say everything everywhere in every corner of the world and universe is going to be positive, but I feel like some good things are coming for people, who have done good things, and maybe they'll be rewarded. So that's good. Eclipses often bring things like tornadoes and weather patterns, earthquakes, things in the earth that are, shifting around because it's an eclipse and it's a big shaky energy. A few weeks ago we had a moon event and there was an earthquake here. I talked about it here on the podcast. So I'm wondering if like Sun square Uranus, if I'm going to have some like earthquake or earth tremor thing going on over here in Costa Rica, which could easily be the case. So at the end of the week, Venus is going to trine Jupiter, and that's Sunday, the 22nd. So again, more beautiful, open, flowing, positive energies. So I love that we are starting the week with a Mercury trine Jupiter and ending the week, when I come back to you on this podcast, with a Venus trine Jupiter. This is lovely. These are lovely aspects. These are sort of bookending the two major aspects of the week. Okay, so maybe there's going to be a big step forward in consciousness, one can hope. Maybe there's going to be a big step forward in the right things happening, right? Some good things happening. And when I say the right things happening, things that are in integrity, things that are the benefit of the greater population, things that are positive for all of us. We're in the slowdown of Mercury before it goes retrograde, which it's going to do next week, and we're going to not really worry about that right now, but Mercury is in its shadow, and Mercury is going to start going into its station really next week. So it's going to start slowing down. It is in Pisces, as you know. And so it's going to make that retrograde in Pisces, and it's going to be staying in Pisces doing its, it's interesting because Mercury doesn't love Pisces because it loves Virgo, the opposite sign. So it'll be doing some interesting stuff while it's in Pisces. Mercury retrograde is a big reveal. So as we go into the Mercury retrograde, there may be some big reveals. And things in Pisces are not out in the open. A lot of water sign stuff is usually hidden. Family secrets, things under wraps. So this Mercury retrograde, alongside eclipses, alongside Saturn, Neptune, could be some big reveals. So let's see what happens. But right now, this week is bookended by this Mercury trine Jupiter, Venus trine Jupiter at the end of the week. There's no heavy duty Mars stuff. So we're moving along, and the best thing we can do right now is have gratitude, create love in our lives, love each other, spend time with your loved ones, and be grateful for everyone here, in your life on Earth that's giving you positive, wonderful things. Okay, so let's stay optimistic, let's stay excited, let's stay open, and let's stay creative, because everything that shows up is going to be an exercise in creativity as well. So if you are interested in finding out more about all of this and you'd like to have a session with me, because it's all happening in your chart just as it's happening in everybody else's, so join me in session by going to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and clicking book now or book online, and you can schedule a session with me. And you can also schedule a Reiki session with me, which is 5D Lemurian Reiki, and lovely. And we can really clear up all the cobwebs of your field with that. I also do emotional clearings within that, and also with my New Vision system. That's on my website as well. Or you could join me for the long haul, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months in expansion mentoring, and we can really use some NLP techniques and all the tools I have in my toolkit to bring you to a different place in your life, which is what I do when I do expansion mentoring. We want to expand our lives. And I'll be on Instagram. I'm sure I'll be talking about all this stuff going on this week. So you can reach me there, the Golden Astrologer. And we will be paying attention to things play by play, the eclipse, Saturn, Neptune. And I may identify things along the way where Saturn and Neptune are present, and where the eclipse is present. And if you want more information about this whole year of 2026, you can go contact me, like I said before, and ask for the link to purchase my Year Ahead 2026, where I go into more details about Saturn and Neptune and their transits. Saturn is the one that puts things in, order. Neptune is the one that erodes the structure. So they're an interesting dynamic with each other. Things that we build that might erode. Like I had said last week, it's building the castle in the sand, and then the beach comes, the water comes up the tide, and that's it. Bye-bye castle. It's an uneasy feeling. So the uneasy feeling of Saturn, Neptune, the uneasy feeling of an eclipse, but you've got to stay positive. Something really powerful is coming, and we're moving into the future, and be grateful for all of that. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. Gratitude to everyone. Blessings to each and every one of you. And I will see you on the other side of this first eclipse in Saturn, Neptune. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful week.